Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Them to Give a podcast. That's right. I already cursed on my own podcast. Don't worry about it. I'm your host, Julie Wanzer. I'm the owner of Get Them to Care Consulting and author of the same book, Get Them to Care, your LinkedIn personal and company branding guidebook. During these podcasts, I'll be joined by industry experts, thought leaders, and people with things to say to give the audience actionable insights and fresh perspective on the B2B service. Again, my guest joining me here today is Dr. Porter Cutrell, owner of SOAR Innovations and principal of Goddard High School in Roswell, New Mexico. So, gosh, but we met back in like 2019, if you remember, through Construction Careers Now, right, which was a training program in Colorado, trying to target high school students, right, to get up and trained for construction. And I was part of that marketing team. And one of our locations, our last location that we held the classes at, was actually at your old school, right, in Colorado. So we've since reconnected. The stars have aligned. And now here we are, right? You're now a guest here on my podcast, Porter. So now I'm going to shut up and let you introduce yourself. But I'm so glad you're here, and thanks. I'm excited about this conversation. So please go ahead.
So am I. And thank you very much. And thanks for reconnecting. And absolutely, it was funny. In Colorado, our lives did kind of come together, and it was over career technical education. How do you help students, in public education, create an opportunity? How can you help school create an opportunity for them to do what they want to do, or at least explore what they might want to do out in the world? I mean, really, we need to stop separating, or at least at that point, we started thinking that we need to stop separating education from what do you want to do for a living, and make it more like, hey, here we are as educators. You're coming to our business. I think I enjoyed working with you guys because it was business oriented, and now we need to look more as education as, this is our business. What do you want to do for a living? How can we help you get there?
Yeah, for sure. No, I know. I was like, I'm going to cut you off multiple times here, Porter. Don't worry. But what I was going to say is, I actually remember back in high school, back in the 90s, folks, when you had home economics, where you had trades, right? Actual classes, electives that you could take. But unfortunately, fast forward to 2025, a lot of those programs have either been eliminated, erased, or whatever. So when I met you, Porter, like I said, you were very passionate about helping people, getting them to be career oriented. And I think, honestly, we need more of that, right? Like, we need to set our kids up for success.
True. No question. And really, it was refreshing for me. I've been back and forth between New Mexico and Colorado, and it was really refreshing for me to get up there and see the amazing things Colorado was doing, and really learning from the different the different schools and the different companies that are all working together. And I think it kind of ignited what I wanted to do, and I ended up moving back to New Mexico to kind of help my parents out and start working with schools here. And the New Mexico schools are traditionally, unfortunately, some of the worst in the country. But the reality is, we need to follow suit on what some of the other states have done. And now we're excited to be moving forwards.
No, definitely. And I mean, listen, facts are facts, Porter, right? We can't hide it, right? That unfortunately, some states are faring better in their education system than others. But I think, again, challenges present opportunities, right? And I think you've kind of taken that full charge. And I know we just kind of jumped right into it, but I would love for you, Porter, to kind of give you a little bit of highlights. I know that you've had a great career.
But really, back in the day when I got out of school, and I was a little bit, I was going to school a little bit before you started doing school. But the reality is, I was a sports guy. I was a basketball guy.
Awesome.
And I was going to be a millionaire and do all that other stuff. And, I kind of dealt with school because you had to be eligible and things like that. And so, my dad was in the military. We moved all over the world, both, inside the United States and outside the United States. So I kind of have a unique growing up, moving every 2 years. And sports was kind of the thing that kept everything together. I began, once I discovered when I was about 30 years old that, I wasn't going to be on TV and those guys. I was like, I've got to do something. I had my education. I began being a teacher. I actually taught at Mullen High School in Denver, and the Catholic school there. And I was the basketball coach for about 15 years. And again, then began to kind of branch out, and I became an administrator or started working on my administration certificates, went back to New Mexico. I worked kind of on the western side of New Mexico in Alamogordo, and then worked my way back over. Roswell's kind of in the eastern side of New Mexico.
Okay.
My parents chose to live here.
All
Came
right.
here when I was a junior in high school, and
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and so I'd kind of been in and out, but came back, worked in some small towns, and then came back here to Roswell and began working here in schools. I was contacted by the schools you talked about. They were kind of in what kind of a rebuild
Yeah.
thing, and they were really pushing career technical education. I had gotten my doctorate from Texas Tech in kind of how to incorporate dual credit courses or college courses and CTE courses in in high school classes.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I went back up there for about 4 years, and then came back.
Awesome.
So
And then, well, we will get to this part, but I will say actually didn't know you were a military grad, Porter. After all this time, like we could have bonded over that. I mean, definitely didn't move as much as you did, not every 2 years, but right after I was born, actually, I got stationed, or not my parents got stationed in Germany, right? It was the 80s
oh,
before the Berlin Wall came down, right? We were in the Bavaria area, and was there for about 3.5, 4 years. And then we would go back. We went back a couple times. But I guess the point of that it was that, like you said, it's a very unique upbringing. But I think it also gives you a lot of perspective, right? Of not only how much I love the U.S., right? Like because coming from a family of military, right, I can have a lot of respect for that. But also just a different perspective of what it's like to live in other countries, right? And both the good and the bad, and
sure.
how we can then kind of take those experiences and make where we live better, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was born in Japan, so here
Oh, no
I'm
kidding.
a six
Okay.
nine basketball player, and I was
I
born in
love it.
Japan, and
Yeah.
yeah, we lived in Iran, we lived in Tehran, Iran,
Wow.
when the Shah was in power prior to
Yeah.
Khomeini, and all those
Wow.
different things, and again moved, went through Europe and some different places. But you're exactly right, and what's crazy is you get to see education in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's an
Yep.
American school, sometimes it's the European school and things like
Yeah.
that. And so things are a
Yep.
little bit different, but absolutely, I'm happy for that, and and I really think it set me on a good path to become a school leader. And I never saw myself in this position. Again, I saw myself as a sports guy and a coach and all these
Yeah.
different things. I even coached at University of New Mexico here. I was an assistant coach for Dave Bliss in the mid '90s,
Nice. Yeah.
and things like that. So it was good fun. But it's funny how some of those experiences really kind of help shape where I am and where I am right now.
Oh yeah, no, and I love that, Porter. Again, I think the whole point of honestly being a human is to have a story, right? We all have different experiences, different stories, and I love sharing them. Obviously, that's why you're here. So, getting now into today's title, or basically our theme for today, which is disrupting public education with AI. Again, when I introduced you, Porter, I mentioned that you're the owner of SOAR Innovations. Tell me, I really wanted to, given your past, right? You've gone through several different types of education. You're now on the administrative side so that you can see what's actually going on in schools. What's going on in schools right now? Why are students still slipping through the cracks?
I think there's while we have cell phones and we have computers and we have all those different things, there really is kind of a breakdown in communication between the home and the school.
Hmm.
Teachers, I mean, parents are more busy. Students are living with their parents. Some are living with their grandparents. Some are living on their own.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
but whereas before, we could call home. When I started as an educator, they'd be like, "Hey, just call home and talk to the parents. Whatever, fine."
Right.
There was one phone in the house. There was
Yeah.
one phone
Yep.
on the wall. When that thing
Yep.
rang, everybody got to it.
Yep.
And really, while we have a lot of things there, I think there really is a disconnect between the home and the school. I think also that I think, you can look at our assignments and our grading and different things like that. And kind of some of the stuff that we discovered when I was in Colorado is we have a lot of well-meaning teachers. I mean, and some people that have been in I mean, I've been in the business a long time.
Yep.
And some of the really cool stuff that I I guess got involved in when I was up there is, started taking the teachers out in the what you would call the real world
Ooh.
and looking at what goes on in these businesses. So
Yeah.
here you're a science teacher, or
Right.
math. So what math is
Sure.
used in there? And
Ooh.
there's been that separation of like, you've got to score on the test and you've got to do this and that. And
Yeah.
but the reality is, sometimes we're stuck in our classrooms as educators, and we don't get out. We don't know. We continue to use the assignments that we had from a long time ago because that makes us comfortable. And
Yep.
for some time we didn't think the money was good or whatever, but now it's gotten significantly better.
Yep.
But really, it's things have begun to push forwards, and even, I got to say, even like this podcast, here I am, a little bit older guy that I mean, it's definitely something that you've got to look into and you've got to push yourself to be involved in. And but I think we can all work together, and we can begin to assist the teachers. I think I look around at my school. I have 5 generations in the
Okay.
workforce.
Wow.
Really,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you
That's
think
yeah.
about all those letters, the Z and
Right.
the Y and all that, I got baby boomers, the whole
Yeah.
deal. And in
Yeah.
each one of them, you have to deal with a little bit differently. But the
Yeah.
reality is they create an opportunity for our students. And
For sure.
we're excited to be a part of that.
Definitely. So then, kind of thinking back on that, I mean, obviously, you've talked a lot about the disconnect between technology and how, unfortunately, like you said, what I'm hearing, anyways, is that we do have access to all this technology, but it's still not driving home the message and connecting people, right? Having that human, not so much human connection, but just any type of connection, right? To know what your kids are doing, what our assignments are they missing, all of those things. So tell me, Porter, what was that kind of then aha moment for you to create SOAR? Like, what happened? Tell me. Come
Right.
on. Were you drinking beers and all of a sudden
Well,
you were just like, we should do this? Tell me.
Well, it's funny, we were sitting around. So when I moved into administration, and in it, whether it's business or whether it's in education, it's kind of a lonely place. When you're one of the workers, when you're one of the teachers, you would
Yeah.
like, I have some 90 employees
Wow.
that are teachers. We have 3 admin.
Yeah.
So you're sort of sequestered by yourself. And so yeah, that does happen. You start to hang out with your guys that are in the same boat as you. So, and
Sure.
again, we
Yeah.
have 4 or 5 people here. We're sitting around. We're
Yes.
always talking
Yeah.
about the same things. All I do is meet the kids who are struggling.
Yeah.
And you discover, like, you immediately want to call them the bad kids, but the reality is they're not bad.
Yeah.
They may be disillusioned. They might be struggling.
Yeah.
And then we begin to look back on your own life, and you start to say, like, huh, I remember being that kid. My dad was in Vietnam. I'm at home sitting in my at my desk. My parents had a desk for me, and
Yep.
my mom's watching my little sister because she's young.
Hmm.
And boy, I paid attention. I went to school. I remember being in class, and now I can't think of how to do this. And so, oh gosh, I'm
Right.
just
Yeah.
not going to do it or whatever. And
Yeah.
then it just becomes this stressful thing. And we're talking about that. And I with my friends here, and I was like, gosh, there's got to be something we can do besides just to
Yeah.
continually the cycle of, okay,
Yes.
you got up,
Oh,
you act, why did you act bad? Why'd you say that to this? The guy's just here trying to help you. The lady's just trying to help you. And
hmm.
like, let's read this, let's do that. And so we were just at a point where we're like, we say that education kind of looks the same as it did in the 1930s. Well, we were like,
Wow.
gosh, we look like the administrators, like we were in the 1930s. Like we
Wow.
want to do
Okay.
something different. As a coach, you want to
Right.
do something different. And
Yes.
when I went back to look at my coaching, background, I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Why can't I use some of that in this to try to be an administrator? Again, I
Yes.
I, I never thought I'd be that guy. I never thought much of whatever, but I'm
Right.
like, so, just like any good team or any good coach that has a team, we need
Yes.
to develop a system. We need to develop something to help the players, our teachers, our kids,
Hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
to get
Hmm.
better. We can't always hope that we get a first round draft choice or get a better player. We're always going to
Yeah.
get better players. The reality
Right.
is you got to play well with the players that you have. And
Yep.
and so,
Yeah.
we all started talking that up and kind of getting our heads up, but then we were like, how are we going to do that?
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
What do you do?
And so, yeah. So, we looked around, and again, I leaned on, my past experience. And I remember I
Hmm.
was a coach at University of New Mexico, and there was an assistant coach who was, who had all the tutoring stuff. He was the tutor. He had a whole herd of college kids who
Yep.
helped our kids, and here
Nice.
are
Yeah.
guys, and some of them are going to be pros. I mean, but they went every time. They had a tutoring center and right
Yeah.
there in the practice facility, and we went,
Right.
and I was like, wow, I remember seeing that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
could I duplicate that? And I started looking around. I started talking to my friends and everything. And in public
Yeah.
education, there just isn't extra people. There's not, you
Yes.
don't get
Right.
to just have as many and pay as many people as you want. And so
Sure.
we just sort of took that time and started thinking, what can we do? And we noticed that there was always a stressor of when parent teacher conferences were coming, and we're like,
Mm.
what's the stressor? The stressor is that it's a surprise. The
Ooh.
parents didn't know that the kids weren't doing well. Of course, the kids weren't running home telling them, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm struggling in this class."
Right.
And
Yeah.
and it's, you're a teenager. You don't want to, you don't want to put your hand up and say like, "Excuse me, I'm
True.
struggling."
Yeah.
It's
That's tough.
like
No, I didn't mean
yeah,
to
and
laugh.
so
Yeah,
no,
it's
no,
tough.
it is. Like, why don't they come to school? Why do they get
Right.
angry? Why do they do whatever? Well, if you
Right.
switched it over to swimming, if every time you came through the doors, I went and put my arm around you and said, "Hey, come on, I know you can't swim, but I'm going to throw you in the deep end over here and I'm going to
Yeah.
paddle." Now, your friends who can swim are going to watch and swim around you and they're going to make fun of you. We're going to make fun of you. So, or whatever, we're going to
Yeah.
be like, "Come on,
Yeah.
man,
Right.
swim." And,
Exactly. Do it.
right,
Do
do
it.
it, do it. And so yeah, so instead of being the guy that can't swim, that's going to drown, that everybody's going to laugh at, I'd much rather be the guy or the girl that, doesn't come to school or doesn't, do
Yeah.
whatever and going to
No,
talk
it's
crazy to
tough.
the teachers or the administrators or whatever.
Yeah.
And but then, as in the secondary world in high school is what I'm
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
We're your last free chance. So you know
Mm.
what?
True.
Kind of on your 19th birthday, 20th birthday, whatever, free American public education goes away. And
Out. You're
out
on
you
your
go.
own.
And we start
Exactly.
seeing those kids, and out they are. And so now, I go from there to what I learned in Colorado, and I'm like, wow, even the teachers, when we went out and looked at the new businesses from
Yeah.
auto mechanics or, you know, any of the different things, medical and all those things,
Yeah.
we're
Construction,
looking and we're
obviously.
like
Yeah.
construction, like, wow, it's changed. They've got phenomenal thing. They're in construction. I remember they're putting on helmets and they're looking into the wall, and the guys are like,
Yeah.
"Yep, there's the wall."
Right.
And our kids are looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, wow.
Yeah,
And,
that
and
3D visualization, Porter, like you mentioned, it's incredible. And the goggles, the everything, the AI, it's, yeah, definitely eye
right.
opening, right? For
And so
sure.
here we are, and we're like, okay, first of all, we need to get up to speed with that. We need to not be afraid. Again, just
Right.
like the podcast, I was like, I can't be scared. You know
You
what?
got
And
this.
I am scared. And you're like, oh,
No.
you got this, dude. Relax, whatever. I'm
Right.
like, okay, I am scared. But the reality is we're out there doing it, and so now we've got to
Yes.
create a system that helps our teachers in all five of our generations, our kids, our parents who are busy. We know our teachers are busy, and they want the best, and for the students, and they want the best for themselves. It's a job, and
For
they want
sure.
to
Yeah.
create a life, and so they can't put 66 million hours in, and so anyway, so yeah, we started to see AI. We started to hear about ChatGPT, and yeah, some of my friends and we just kind of banded together and we're like, look, we can't be scared. We got to start looking at it. And the more we looked at it, the more we kind of came into our head that, man, this might be something.
Right.
And
Oh.
you know, and yeah, I mean, so this might be something. Um,
So
but
tell me what
then,
that something is. Like I'm literally on the edge of my seat. Like I am dying for you to be like soar, soar, because
well, it is.
that
I
is
mean, SOAR,
literally
it's a component of SOAR. It is a component of SOAR. But
yes,
when
a big
chat first
component.
came out, everybody, like not everybody, but a lot of my teachers are like, "Hey, we need to have a better system to block them using like ChatGPT and just getting the answers." I was like, okay,
All
I
right.
hear you.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, like, but getting the answers, but what we've got to do is change the mindset. Getting the answers isn't the end game.
Right.
For all this time in school, yeah, we just wanted the answers. We just want to write the stuff down and get it and go in and turn our
Yeah.
paper in and get a 90 and feel happy and move forwards. But then as we got out of school, we realized that there are no handouts in the real world. There are no
Yeah.
anything. You gotta really think your way through things. You gotta fix problems. You got to think your way through it.
Yeah.
So the reality is yeah, with SOAR, we felt like SOAR could be something. So I looked around. So yeah, student online AI resource.
There you
Um,
go. We got this.
and
See, I told you, Porter. Between the two
right,
of us, we're gonna
we
make this
just
work.
kind of we just kind of came up with the name of it. But the reality is we wanted to create a a system that kind of did a lot of things for teachers and students.
Yes. Yep.
And the lucky piece for it was that and the computer people, they put together ChatGPT, and it's phenomenal, and some of the other
Yeah.
AI tools and things like that. But when the computer guys and the educators, so myself and some other people came
Mhm.
together and said, look, here's how let's see if we could train it AI to really help people as opposed to just give them the answer. Like the
Imagine
idea
that.
is skill acquisition. We want them to
Right.
acquire the skill. So we want them to know how to do it. And we never want it to be like, like your parents and not my parents, but I mean, they're kind of
Yeah.
like this.
Well, maybe. Yes.
You ask enough
Generational.
questions and finally they just are like, come on, man, it's 4. And you're like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Thank you.
Right. But that wasn't
Well, the
that's not
thought
what we
process
wanted.
behind it. No, of course. I love what you said that it's not about the answer, Porter. It's about the scientific method and teaching yourself how to think, right? Think through things, right? Of, okay, yeah, 4 is the answer all day long, but how'd you get there, right? Why is it that answer? Is there a different answer, right? Could there be multiple answers? That's the type of thing that the asking questions, right? I feel like, at least from my perspective, is what's missing, right? Well, that's not the
Sure.
focus anymore, unfortunately.
So we were like, okay, how do we let the parents and the teachers talk to each other? So
Right.
if the missing assignments and not doing the work and kids not at school and all that is a problem, everybody's got a cell phone,
Yep.
everybody's really got an email address, to be honest. And so we're thinking, okay, if we created a missing assignment database, we could call it like an early warning system. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, you were supposed to turn the stuff in, but really it's not the grading period, it's not the midterm or whatever when we had
Right.
parent teacher conferences. And again, that's where we noticed the stress. Everybody's
Right.
stressed. Teachers are
Of
stressed,
course.
parents are
Yep.
stressed, kids are
Yeah.
stressed. They've been telling the story. Parents don't know. They've been working hard. Now they're
Right.
going to the school. They don't really like going in the school, but here they go.
Right.
The teachers are like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And I actually really did notice that when I first started here. This is the school where I actually graduated from high school,
Oh,
so I knew a
wow. Look
bunch
at
of the
you
people.
going.
Yeah, I know, crazy, right? I got the job, and some of the teachers were still there,
Wow.
and but I knew everybody in the community, and I was just like, I had a restaurant cater the dinner for the teachers and everything, but
Nice. Yeah.
nobody,
Keep
but
it
nobody
local.
ate. Nobody ate because everybody was so stressed out. I mean, I ate because I
Ah.
wasn't stressed
Oh.
out, but and I was like,
Okay.
wow, we
So, all
got to
right.
really
Wait.
work on this.
So, how are you going to alleviate that stress, Porter? How do you alleviate that stress with SOAR? Where is that
So
coming in? Talk to me.
So first of all, we created a database for the missing assignment. So a teacher can
Nice.
just put in the missing assignment, whether it's the actual copy of the missing assignment or whether
Hmm.
it's in a learning management system or wherever it is, the
Sure.
location of it, and
Okay.
they we have we have the ability to upload all the students in their class and everything. They just select on
Nice.
the students that have the missing
Okay.
assignment, whether
Yep.
they're absent, whether it's not, select go, and it texts and emails the parents, the kid,
Nice.
and anybody else, the grandparent, anybody that's in that kid's life.
Right. In the system, in
You,
that system. Yeah.
yeah, you can, the parents can come in and say, well, his boss is really interested in helping him. Can you put him on there? Because it's not
Yeah.
one of those FERPA violations and things like that, because it's not a grade. It's just an assignment that the
Right.
kid needs help on.
Got it.
Um,
I
we've
love that
also
loophole, by the way, that you were able to skirt around that. You're like, wait, it's just an
Yeah,
assignment. I love
exactly.
it. So
Don't. Yeah, I mean, and
don't get it
because yeah, we've
twisted.
had some people do that, and really there are some big companies, McDonald's and some of the other ones like that really give the kids time. They pay them to do the work and right there. So having access to them, because we all know kids have backpacks and they put their stuff in there, and the parents are always like, hey, where's this, or where the kid
Yeah.
wants to
Right.
do it, can't find it. Boys are the
Yeah.
worst, and I was one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we first we create a database for that, and when we make
Okay,
it to
so what happens when I get that text now? Let's say I'm a parent, right? I got 3 kids and I get 2 different text messages from Johnny and Janie. What does it say? What am I alerted to?
You're alerted to your son or daughter, whatever, whatever it is, they'll say, and they'll put the first name in there, has a missing assignment,
Okay.
and it'll be that there'll be a like a link that you
Hmm.
can select on, and
Nice.
either with your phone or on your computer as well. So it'll be if you give us your email address as well, it can
Nice.
be either place. But the phone is really the great one, and I
Yeah,
tell you
for
what.
sure.
I got some funny stories about that, but you select on it and up it comes. So
Right.
the assignment comes up. It
Okay.
shows what assignment is, and if it's there, like if it's
Yep.
a PDF or a Word document, um, it goes right into our AI tutor, and the AI tutor reads the assignment and gives a summary of it right there.
Nice.
So it's sitting right there, and
Okay.
I was at the DMV one time, and one of the finally got up to the window, and one of the
Yeah.
ladies was like, "Hey, are you the principal at Goddard?" And that's never a great thing, when people start the
Right.
conversation, like especially at the
You're like,
DMV.
oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, "Yes, ma'am." She
Yeah.
reaches in her purse, she pulls out the phone, and she says, "You know what?" She opens it up to an
Yeah.
assignment, clicks
Yeah.
it, says, "This is the greatest thing in the history of the world." She goes, I come home from work 5 o'clock. I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
I got a great kid.
Mhm.
But sometimes he's a boy. He wants to go do stuff, and I'm like, wait, hold up. How
Yeah.
is the? Have you finished the quadratic
Right.
formulas for Mrs.
Ooh.
Smith at whatever today? Well, Mom, yeah, I was good. Yeah, it's in my car, it's in my backpack, it's in my shoe, it's in my wherever.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
like,
My
don't
dog
worry
ate
about
it.
it. It's right here.
Right.
And
Love it.
and so, but they're not left there on their own. She's like, this
Yeah.
is the greatest thing ever because guess what? We can open every kid has a computer now after COVID,
Yes.
so they can
Right.
open the
Yep.
computer given to them by the school. They can start
Awesome.
working on it,
Good.
and they can begin the process of going through it. She said, so we can continue to talk our way out of it. It's not like I have to go over there and do whatever, but if you get
Great.
stuck or anything, I can go like, hey, ask it if it's number 4, ask it
Yeah.
if you use this, and
Right.
it'll say, whatever, and continue to move forwards.
Sure.
SOAR also has the ability to have a communication section where educators, whether it's the administrator or the teacher or whatever, can simply
Mhm.
write a message, whether it's a random act of kindness,
Okay.
something that
Ooh.
they say immediately, like, "Hey,
That.
I saw Janie do this. We appreciate
Yeah.
her doing this or that." They can write back. They can say, "Hey, look, we found her wallet." I mean, any
Yeah.
any of those things, communicate back and forth. Um,
And I think that's huge, Porter, because I one of the things I read about SOAR, as obviously as I'm kind of delving into it, is that you built in multilingual translation, right? So how big of a game changer is that for non-English speaking families?
Well, and yeah, and it's been huge, and we hear a lot about in the news about people coming to the country and different things, but look at us, we went around to different countries as well,
Yeah.
and we wanted to operate in those countries, and it's tough. Instead of the students carrying around their phone and trying to do whatever.
Yeah.
They can, as a family, grandma can help them, mom and dad,
Nice.
the brother, everybody. You
Love
can
it.
ask it in any language, and
Yeah.
I've talked with some school leaders across the country, some up uh, in the northern part of the country, and they're like, we have 22 languages at our school. Not it's
Wow.
not like Spanish and German or
Yeah.
whatever. We have
Right.
22. Have you ever? And they're like, can
Wow.
it do it in this? Can it write it in that? And I was like,
Right.
sure, let's look at it. And so it's phenomenal that they can work it together and then work their way back towards getting the understanding and getting the stuff turned in.
For sure. Well, and to me, I love that follow through of connection, right? Communication, meeting people where they're at, regardless of what language they speak, but also too building in that a system of accountability, right? I think, like you said, too many parents, whether they're single or not or whatever, we're all busy, all working. I don't have time to check up on Janie's assignments, right? Unless you tell me to, right? Like, and there's just too many things going on. So I feel like any type of reminder, any type of accountability system that you can put in helps on both ends, right? Do you feel like it's benefiting both students and parents at this time?
Oh, no question. And I tell you what, it's creating a bond now as opposed to a buffer between the
Okay.
school, the parents, again, anybody in their life. I mean, I have some students who go to work right after school, and they were struggling, and they get home late, they work, there's a lot
Sure.
of things going on. But
Yeah.
I got their boss involved, and so and those, a lot of times their bosses are kind of father figures, mother
Yep.
figures as
Yep.
well, and they care about the kids, and they want the they want we want the best for our community. Everybody in our
Yes.
community really does want the best. Nobody wants somebody struggling. Nobody wants,
Yeah.
nobody grows up and I hope I'm homeless, or I hope
Yeah.
that'll happen. And the
Yeah.
reality is it begins to create kind of an all for one for all system. Because it is a database and it's online and we can all see it, the coaches, we can differentiate them by coaches. We can differentiate
Hmm.
them by, not just teacher, but any other little, some of our mid schools have
Yeah.
teams in eighth grade. So
Cool. Yeah.
they call the dinosaurs and the violets and the different things
Right.
like that. And so everybody can look, and who knows who has a, and that's, who has a kind of a better rapport with some of these different students,
Right.
as opposed to here we are at 9 weeks. We got
Yeah.
14%, failures. We got
Yeah.
22 here. It's not about that. It's about, creating the ability to work with what we have, and also, let people know if you're sick. A lot of times students aren't there. Well, I tell you what,
True.
you can
Yeah.
immediately, it's not a lot of times they can do things. They're just not there.
Right.
So guess what? You put it in, send it out to them. Doesn't matter where they are. I mean, they could be
Right.
3 states over. They could be on a basketball trip. They could be on a football, thing.
Yeah.
Hey, they've
And
got
they'll
it.
get a
They weren't
learn.
there. Here's the
Yep.
stuff. It starts to cut down that putting your hand, like when you come back to school. And as a teacher, I always struggle with this. Mister, what I miss? What I miss? Hey,
Yeah.
miss,
Right.
and
It's
and
tough.
so you got 5 of those kids who
Right.
missed, and you don't even
On different
remember what
days.
day exactly.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
Tuesday, I was
Right.
Thursday. Was it? You're like, hey
Yeah.
man, I put all
Too
that
much.
in there,
Yeah.
and and now it just starts to streamline the effect, and you
For
know,
sure. Well, and I guess what I'm hearing too, Porter, is that it takes a village, right? You talked about your community and everyone in the community wanting everyone to succeed, right? Like, and hearing about those students that have their bosses involved. To me, that's just like chosen family, right? Like getting
sure,
someone who cares about you, cares about your well-being, and like you said, this is their last chance, last free pass in America. Okay, so you might as well use it as much as you can. No, kind of getting into more of the technology side of it, Porter. Let's talk about what benefits does it bring to teachers? Kind of focus more on. I understand that SOAR plugs into existing platforms like ClassLink, Clever, Canvas, Google Classroom. Like, how does that help teachers and kind of give them that one-stop shop instead of just one more tool they have to learn?
sure. Like the learning management systems in particular, like Canvas, and that's one of the big ones.
Hmm.
Google Classroom, and we're trying to get here in our state, and even in our district here, we're trying to really get a lot of things put up on Canvas because we want to have access. When you think
Right.
about equity, you really got to have access to the
Yes.
work. And we're trying to get our teachers to not be, the sage on the stage, the keeper of all knowledge, the keeper of all assignments, the keeper of
Yeah.
whatever. They are the kind of the guide on the side to
Hmm.
help push people forwards. The coach, we're
Yep.
getting them going, and
Yeah.
things like that. So we have to have an area where the work is accessible. And so yeah, we can work to connect with the grade book in Canvas and things
Hmm.
like that. So if you put in whatever it's going to be, we can choose if it's a 0 or an I or whatever.
Yeah.
Then that sends out the information of where what the actual assignment is, and some schools don't have that, but so they do have the Xerox copy one. So you know what, everybody's got a phone, again, back to that.
Yep.
Everybody you can scan, you
Yep.
can
Take a
send it
picture.
in. Takes
Yeah.
1 second, take the picture, send it in. There
Yep.
it is. I mean, worst case scenario, they can bring it up on their computer and begin to type the questions, and still they can
Nice.
access the work. And again, they have to be an active participant in their own rescue. But the reality is 95% of them want that anyway. It's what
Yeah.
happens is when you get behind and you're so far behind that you don't feel like you can dig out, that you choose and think of, we can think of that our own self,
Yeah,
bills or
for sure.
whatever.
Yeah. Things add
It's
up.
the same
Exactly. Life goes
concept.
on,
The
whether you like
weeds,
it or
the
not.
weeds
Yeah,
in the yard or
exactly.
something. We're just like, oh man, I'm just not even going to think about it. I'm not going out there. I'll just deal with
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And again, you have a limited time to get the knowledge and to get going. And I think part of the way it helps teachers too is, you always hear the 11th grade teachers don't think that the 10th grade teachers taught them something. The
Okay.
ninth think this, and the ninth
Right.
grade think the eighth grade wasn't good,
Right.
and the fifth grade think the fourth
Okay.
grade wasn't good. The whole
Trickle
deal.
down.
It could be
Yeah.
better. And you can miss stuff. I mean, when you move every 2 years or when whatever, I mean, for us, yeah, things were different. In California was different than wherever. And
Right.
so, but that shouldn't be a thing that limits your ability. It should be
For sure.
a piece that we can work on. And again, that's where we think the AI tutor and that is a helpful component.
For sure. Well, I mean, speaking of AI, obviously there's a lot of fear around AI in education. You kind of touched on it earlier, but what do you say to educators and parents who are skeptical about AI in education?
I mean, I hear them. The first thing I say is I hear you, and I do believe there are some things that's going to be a problem for, but it's going to be here. And again, that's like saying,
well, I'm sorry, Porter, it's already here. Actually,
well,
it's
right.
already here.
No,
so
it's here,
get on board.
but it's
Go
not
ahead.
going away. And a
Right,
matter of
very
fact, it's
true.
going to change slightly,
Yeah.
and everybody's going to need to use it. And it probably is the same when shovels or the diesel engine came in, and everybody was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I don't know about that." Like, no,
Yep.
it's not going away. So we've got to learn to work with it. And the one thing that by myself working with some great computer people that are in our company, we were able to help guide and teach and harness and create for lack of a better terms, maybe a bridge that's in
Yeah.
between
That connection
the AI,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
to also to where it puts out the information to the people. And so that piece isn't anything to be afraid of. And if your assignment, and now we got to go back and look at our assignments and how can our assignments be more to begin to move away from the 90s and whatever to
Right.
the A is the answer, B is the answer.
No.
It's got to be more of a philosophical think our way through the answers and kind of take the power away from the just getting the answer from that's the same as getting it from your friend, from your big brother,
Right. Yeah.
whatever
It doesn't
else,
mean it's
your
right.
little buddy.
Exactly. And
No,
yeah, and it doesn't mean that you can replicate it either, right? I mean, or
right.
replicate that same thought process.
Yep.
So tell me then, Porter, thinking back on, I mean, obviously this is already in schools, right? SOAR is already available in some schools.
Yep.
From your past experience, Porter, again, I'm a teacher. I want to bring this to my school. What do you, based on your past experience, what are some kind of the best practices for teachers who are completely new to this SOAR system? What do you tell them in order to implement it into their school year for the upcoming school year for 2026, 2027, or 2025, 2026?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good training program. We have it's very simple. I mean, they have, that's the first nice thing is
Okay,
that
good.
it's super
Thank goodness.
simple.
Yes.
A lot of the hard work is taken away again by the computers, by the ability to download the information and work with the school systems to
Okay.
download the information. So really, you just have to make the decision that you're willing to sit down and get with your teacher buddies and your administrators and and begin the process of working with it. And it's
Well,
funny,
so then, good.
myself and who, okay, great. I'm in a school administrator and my buddies that do it as well.
Mhm.
We've noticed that, yeah, our schools have begun to kind of stride out in front of the other ones. And again, we not to be fair, we didn't get, they definitely didn't get any better administrators because they still got them. They didn't get better teachers.
I love how
We
you
got
were
the,
like across the board, Porter. You're like, let me just say, I didn't get any better, but good.
I mean, right.
I know it's same. Yep.
We created a system. I mean,
Yes.
our teachers are the same. The
Yep.
students are the same students.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting some more to come in because
Mhm.
they're starting to understand that, wow, there is a support system out there, and
Nice.
and it's great. So yeah, really, I mean, get a hold of us, www.soark12.com,
There you
and
go. I love that
hit us
plug.
up and send us an email. And I tell you what, we'll get started. I mean, come listen to us speak, ask questions, come look at our booths and some different things. But the reality is yeah, it's just to make the decision and give it a go.
Just do it, right? I feel like that's been a
Yep.
central theme. Just do it. Okay, well then, but tell me more of a success story, Porter. Tell me about a school where you feel like SOAR was really able to help the school and provide that support system. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can say as a group. I mean, I'll go ahead and use the group that's around me. So the like most high schools, we have feeder middle schools,
Okay.
which are the kids that go to those middle schools come to our high school.
Okay.
We also have in our district, we have an alternative school,
Hmm.
where where students that are kind of disillusioned with the high schools try to go, and
Yep.
it's a smaller school, smaller setting, and that is hooked on to an early college high school, so they can get their high school diploma and their associate's degree. So I'm going to
Nice.
say our little five group of people, who decided to just go ahead and give it a go. I mean, it
Hmm.
wasn't even, it was just something we're like, hey, we're tired of what we've always gotten. You do what you've always
Yes.
done, you get what you've always gotten. We're
Yeah,
tired of
and
that. We're going to
literally,
move forward.
Porter, that's literally the definition of insanity, right? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting
Right.
different results, right? So if you
Right.
don't, we're not willing to change or take a risk or, at least invest in any kind of support system, then, it's never going to happen, right? You're never going to
Right.
get there. So,
Exactly. And so, just, I mean, right now, and we're about, we're at the end of the school year, so I'll have
mhm.
some a little bit better data down the
Okay.
road, but just some right off the top, we've been able to look at just the failure rate that we used to have as a group. When we looked at our data combined, we
Hmm.
always in our schools, it appeared over the last 10 years, decade or so, we always had about a 30 to 35% failure rate. I mean, it's just
Okay.
students with at least one F and
Okay.
going from there.
All right. And
We've
now,
seen, yeah, we've seen it, and our expectation is that it's going to be, again, we're not quite there, but again, we can take some preliminary data. We're
mhm,
not at the end of the year, but we see that we believe we're going to be at a 15% failure rate, which is a
wow.
50% drop.
Yeah,
Just by
that's
doing
huge.
some little simple tweak.
Yeah.
We've also seen a huge uptick in our behavior. So,
Ooh, okay. What's that mean?
I mean that like a school of our size, we're about 1,300 students,
Okay.
which is we have two comprehensive high schools here in the town.
Nice.
We didn't have a fight.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
so
All
we're
right.
we're a semester, like if you take from the beginning of the year, so
Okay.
we're in the middle, we're almost at the end of the second semester, we haven't had a fight.
Right.
Um,
Wow.
and
That's
that's, I mean, you hate that you have to use something like that, but the reality is that makes us happy. I mean, and
yeah,
and,
for
and
sure.
that goes along with a lot of other things. We're noticing that our discipline referrals are down. Our bullying is down.
Wow.
Because we're starting to build it's crazy. We're starting to build a team of students helping students, parents. I
Yes.
mean, we've actually kind of put together an area where we call it our tutoring center, and we
Okay.
have some adults man that. We put some of our subs, go
Nice.
in there and different things. We have some
Great.
of our students go in there to help out, and we've really been, because you don't have to be a master of anything. You don't have to
Right.
be like, oh, Jew, I'm really not good at math. But like, come on, sit down. Let's
Great.
work through
Let's
it. I'm
look.
really good at.
Exactly.
I've worked with the AI tutor. I'm pretty good with it. Let's start working and let's start moving forwards. And
Nice.
so those things are positive. Parent contacts. This one's crazy to me.
What?
I
What?
just looked at it. Since Okay, I'm going to go since December, because
Okay.
we'll just
Sure.
start from
Okay.
December.
Done.
101,000 contacts between our five schools with their parents. Both
Wow.
both the fact that maybe you had missing assignments. Also, when you complete the assignment, SOAR sends them a thing that says, "Hey, great job.
Yeah.
Your kid completed the assignment. Jimmy completed the assignments.
Nice.
Julie did as well."
Yeah.
Which is, how many times do you want to give them an attaboy for something and things like that? But people are spread out all over the place. Great.
Right.
I collected it, clicked it, took me 1 millisecond, off
Yeah.
we go.
Right.
And right now, I mean, we're looking at, I mean, again, since Christmas, we got about 20, less than 20, about 21,000, 22,000 missing assignments have been uploaded.
Okay.
We've had about a 65% completion rate
Nice.
right now of
Yeah.
the missing ones. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the piece that, that we really find exciting. and we just feel like it's becoming all for one and one for all. And
What about those parent teacher conferences? Have you noticed, what have you noticed they're improving between those times that happens now?
uh, the catered meal is all gone.
What do you
And
mean?
if you don't get going, well, I told you at the beginning, the very first time I was there, I got one of my friends owns a Mexican restaurant here, and
Okay.
I love his food. And I went down there and I
Yeah,
was like, hey, let's cater the stuff for our
sure.
guys. And
Yeah,
again, I was taking trays and trays back home, and I was thinking, what is going on? But
yeah.
it was the fact that we were. I think everybody was all stressed. Now,
Okay. Yes.
we go to those, and I tell you what, everybody eats, everybody's
I love
happy.
it.
They
I
know that's
love
up.
it.
They're all
Yes.
working together, and
Good.
yeah, I mean, again, are we still going to have students that fail? Absolutely. But the
Right.
reality is they're not left alone. They don't feel, that they can't pull it off, and it's just been exciting to be a part of.
No, for sure. Okay, so now, I mean, because Porter, listen, you and I could probably chat on for another hour or two because I got
Sure.
this, right? But I kind of want, let's now look into the future, right? You kind of mentioned some data statistics about your groups. Where do you want SOAR to be in 5 years? What do the next 5 years look like? What do you want? Where do you want SOAR to be?
I think everywhere. I really
Okay,
feel
great
like,
answer.
I'd really like that every kid has an opportunity and to get through and to have their own little buddy. Again, we're with the data that we can take out of SOAR, that we see in SOAR when people log in, when kids do different work. We're discovering that school doesn't go nowadays in the 21st century between 8 and 3. We have students logging in at 2:15 in the morning, 10:45 at night,
Yeah.
6:15, and we see them, beginning that process, and yeah, they're busy as well. So I really, yeah, it'd be great if everybody had that opportunity. I think it would be awesome.
Okay. All right. So obviously we do want everyone to get it, and I love how you dream big and think
Right.
big, right? But what about okay, so we talked about obviously you have it there in New Mexico, it's there in other states right now.
Yes, we have some schools in Colorado, so New Mexico and Colorado. We just got done presenting in California. We're
Nice.
kind of at the end of the school year now, so most every school has their money kind of encumbered, so they're
Sure.
looking for the future. And
Yeah.
yeah, our hope is to branch out and be pretty much wherever. And the nice thing it
Definitely.
is because it is replicable. You don't have to haul things, you don't have to build something,
Right.
you don't have to have a big truck to get it there.
Yeah.
It's one phone call, it's one email, and there it is.
Right. Well, and too, it like I said, it plugs into their systems that they already have, right? Their tracking systems, which
Most
I
of them.
again,
Sure.
anytime you can make a teacher's life easier, I'm here for it. Okay, we are closing out. This is what I love to do, Porter. This is my lightning round. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions and like one sentence answers, one word, one sentence. Okay, you ready, sir?
All
You
right.
ready for the lightning round? Ready? Okay.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, here we go. One word to describe public education right now. One word.
Dynamic.
Most underrated tech in the classroom.
AI.
Your education hero.
My mom.
Ooh, what keeps you up at night?
um that we really haven't solved the problems of education yet.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect. And last one, what gives you hope for the new education system? Gives you hope.
Um, that I really think that we're making progress. And from what I've seen from SOAR and just the little bit of data that we do have, I'm excited that we are making progress. And I think I'm excited for American public education.
No, for
The
sure. And
future.
you gotta, to me, it's a ripple effect, right? Once you put the stone in the lake, it's got to spread, right? And once you start seeing results, I feel like people jump on and they want that for their schools. And luckily, people are competitive, right? Like you were saying, getting back to this whole game and coaching synonym, right? That you used for almost the entire talk. I loved how you're trying to get people on the team, right? It's not just teacher, like you said, standing behind a podium and dispelling and holding on the information. You're creating a team, right? That includes the parents, includes the students. So I'm on board for
Well,
that.
and
Okay.
the states right now have a like a school grading system. I mean,
Okay.
and honestly, one of the ones in Colorado has been wanting to move up in the school grading system. We want to move up. We want to see where we're going to be. My friends
Nice.
here want to see where we're excited because guess what? Yeah, we put in a new offense. We're playing
Yep.
hard. We
Yeah.
got our players going and we're excited. And it's going to take a little bit to get them exactly where we want them, but we want to see step-by-step progress. And when we see that, I tell you what, we're going to get together again and we're going to high five each other. And we just need like an NCAA tournament on
Hell
TV
yeah.
with and
Exactly. All
and
the
get to
school
go there.
districts. Yeah.
That's
Hell
right.
yeah.
And
No, I'm
being able to call some of our buddies and be like, yeah, see, now we're catching up with
exactly.
you. Here we come. So,
That's right. Better
yep.
watch out. All right. Well, final question. How can people get involved, Porter? How can they get a hold of you? How can I get SOAR out into the world? Tell me, tell me. Here's your pitch.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, our website is great,
Hmm.
www.soark12.com.
Yep.
And yeah, or come listen to us talk. We'll be, on our website, we'll have the places where we're going to be out there. And yeah,
What's the email address where they can get you? What's that email address?
it's my first name, Porter,
Hmm.
Porter, at
Hmm.
soark12.com. Makes it kind of
That's it.
easy.
Of course.
Uh,
Listen, make
and
it easy,
that'll
easy
be great.
peasy.
Yep. So
Hell yeah.
we're excited.
No, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Porter, for giving me your time today. I do like, I listen, I'm having you back on this podcast and like, well, hopefully rather sooner rather than later, but I want to hear more updates about this, Porter. Seriously, I think this is an important issue. It's a great way to show people that you care about their progress, regardless of where they live, regardless of what language they speak, or regardless of what language their parents speak. Creating that community and that connection is super important and so much needed in today's world. So again, thank you again, Porter.
Thank you.
I love seeing what's possible, and let's disrupt this public education system. I'm here for it. Let's bring in the AI and shake things up a little bit.
Let's roll.